Let's do this. Well, hello, and welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, this is Charlotte's Little Web, a messy life vlog. Today we're going to be talking about one of my personal favorite topics, self-love. That is because I feel like I've spent most of my adult life trying to cultivate self-love and also just understand what it means to maintain that. That is a huge thing that I want to talk about today, is the maintenance part of it. I do feel like it is left out completely or minimized when we are told to love ourselves. We hear it a lot. Choose to love yourself today. If not now, when? Read this book and love yourself. Watch this movie and love yourself. Follow this inspirational guru and love yourself. And although these are really positive things, and I do suggest strongly implementing some, all, one of them at least into your life to help you along your journey to self-love, I also feel like they forget to say it's going to take time. And believe me, it is. And that it's not to be discouraging. You can make the choice to love yourself easily. You can make it right now. Go ahead. I'll wait. You love yourself? Okay, good. You made the decision. Awesome. What happens after that is someone says, okay, I've made this decision. I've read that book. I've watched this movie. I've sought therapy. I've done everything I'm supposed to do. And then you have days where you don't love yourself. I mean, days where you don't even like yourself. And you get discouraged. At least I know I did in the beginning. Because you put all of this effort into saying, you know, I'm making the decision today. I'm going to stop hating myself. I'm going to stop speaking negatively. I'm going to turn that inner voice off that tells me that I'm not good enough and not pretty enough and not talented enough. And all of a sudden, that voice is back. And you feel like, hey, I said I loved myself. I read the book. I did the things. I did all the things. So what is happening? Why is it not feeling better immediately? That's why I like to say that the first step into truly loving yourself is becoming a self-lover. And I know you're probably thinking, Charlotte, seriously, that sounds like a title of a book I would find in my divorced aunt's sex drawer, so ew. First of all, why are you in your divorced aunt's sex drawer? Perv. Second of all, it's not that kind of video. I'm talking about this kind of self-lover where you become the lover of yourself emotionally. Hold off on the physical for now. Let me start off by saying that what I think self-love is when you show up for yourself. That is the best way I can explain it. You show up for yourself no matter what. You are on your own side. You've got your own back. It all sounds easy to do, but wow, have we been conditioned to do otherwise? Think about it like this. You're at dinner with some friends. What is one thing that is bound to happen? People put themselves down, especially women. It is so easy for us to just, oh, I'm just so gross today, or, oh my gosh, you like this? Oh, it's old, and my skin, and my hair, and no, you're better, no, you're prettier, da 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 da. All right. All I said was that I liked your shirt, and you pretty much gave me a laundry list of reasons why you're the ugliest person in the history of ever. Come on, give yourself a little credit. That is why I made the decision years ago to start loving myself. I was at dinner recently and someone had said something slightly negative about themselves. And a friend said, oh, don't let Charlotte hear you say that. She'll get mad. She'll tell you what for. And although I don't, it's not that I get mad and I'm somehow flattered and not by that statement, I'm not mad. It's just, it hurts to hear women that are so far away from that self-love that I've worked so hard for. And I have to remind myself that every journey is different. And not everyone is going to be ready to bat for themselves all the time. I'm not either. I have my days. I really have my days, believe me. But I remind myself that it's a day, it's a moment, it's not a week, it's not a month, and it's not my state of mind. I may be down on myself for that time period, but I know that it will go away. I know that I will return to me. Back to becoming a self-lover. When I use that term, I think about being in a relationship with myself. And just like any relationship, any marriage, it takes time and it takes commitment. And a lot of the time you have to wake up every day and choose to love that person that you're in the relationship with. That's why it's important to choose to be in a relationship with yourself. Whether you're in one currently or you're single, doesn't matter. You can choose any day to say, okay, I'm going to fall in love with myself, essentially. And if you've ever been in love, you know that it's not all daisies, rainbows, and unicorns. There are some days where the person you love, you really don't even like them. And when you get in a fight or an argument, sometimes you want to say things that you know would really hurt them, but something inside of you says, no, don't do it, because you love them and you truly love them. You withhold. At least most of us do. I really try. And the reason we do that is because we have such great love for the other person. Deep down, we don't really want to see them hurt, even when they're driving us crazy. You need to be able to put yourself in that category too. When you're having your hard days and it's hard to love yourself and be in that relationship with yourself, you have to remember that saying those ugly, nasty things still hurt you as much as it would hurt somebody else. You have to remain on your team at all times, even when you're losing, even when you're the one to blame for losing that game. You still have to have your own back. So here I am talking about how it takes all this time and effort and commitment. How do you know it's working? Say you're starting to log in those hours. How do you know that your time card is being punched for that journey to self-love? I'd like to share one of my stories about how I started to realize that it was working, that the time, the commitment, the self-talk, the books, the therapy, all of the above, that it really was worth it. Brief backstory, I struggled with bulimia for years. It started in middle school and it went on way too long, well into my adult years. I am happy to say that I am 5 years clean, almost 5 years clean, binge and purge free, and sorry. I'm proud of that. I worked really hard for that. And I can honestly say that when I decided to stop hurting myself, it didn't mean that I immediately replaced it with loving myself. Just because you get rid of one doesn't mean that the other automatically steps in. And I was lucky enough to have a professional show me that you can choose to stop hurting yourself and not be ready to love yourself yet. And that is definitely where my journey began, maybe even a few years before that. When I was about 19 years old, I was at a party, and one of my best guy friends, his brother said something to me that it crushed me. He verbally cut me down about my physical appearance, some of it to which was completely out of my control. And I was devastated. I remember going home that night and just crying myself to sleep, just feeling so worthless and so ugly. And at the time at 19, my goodness, I was really in it. I mean, bulimia was my daily life. Binging, purging, starving, whatever it was to make how empty I felt on the inside match the outside. So I really wasn't on my own team at that time. I wasn't ready to defend myself the way I should have. My mom had come into my room that night and she saw how crushed I was. And I told her, what had happened, the situation. A really dumb boy said a really dumb thing, and it broke my heart. And I just remember her sitting there and consoling me and crying myself to sleep. Well, the next morning there was a post-it of all things on my door, and it was in my mother's handwriting, and it was a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt. It read, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." Simple, I know, but incredibly powerful. And I'm not sure if at the time I was even ready to hear it or really understand what that meant, but it planted a seed of love and confidence within me that would flourish years later. Let me share another little story with you. And I honestly don't think that I've even shared this story with anyone. Not my husband, not my sister, which is shocking, not my best friend. Sometimes things that happen to us, I think that we just need to own them for a while. We need to carry them for a while. Even when they are important, when they are impactful, sometimes they are silly. This one is a little silly, honestly, but it just needed to be mine for a while. It's not a flattering story, so I think I also had to come to terms with that sharing it and maybe reaching someone because of that was way more important than my pride. About 1.5 years ago, my dad and I went to this venue in downtown Phoenix. There is a college campus there now. A lot of people out on a Thursday night. My little brother happened to be playing at a venue. He's on his way up, and it was a very important night for him. And my dad and I had decided, let's paint the town red. Let's make it a date. He picked me up. We went to dinner. We had some drinks, and we were ready to go watch my little brother at this really cool music venue and support him. We were going to meet other family members and friends, and we were really excited. We were headed into the venue when my dad realized he forgot his wallet. So, being in heels, he said, "No worries, let me run back and get it. Just wait here for me." And I did. There I was, waiting on the corner for my pops. I thought I was looking pretty good. I was feeling pretty good. Had this cute black romper on and these really adorable wedges, and I remember my hair was similar to this, and I had my gold hoops and my red lipstick, kind of my trademark. And these 3 guys were approaching, and I didn't think anything of it. There's a lot of people around. They decided that when they passed me, the one in the middle that could very obviously be seen as their ringleader. They probably were all carrying fake IDs and just got kicked out of a bar or something. I mean, they were typical college kids. The one in the middle decided to oink at me when they passed. Yes, you heard that right. He Peppa Pigged my ass. I'm serious. He made oinking noises at me. I remember just being in shock at first. And before I had time to even realize exactly what had happened, my reaction was so surprising. You guys, I laughed. Like, I really laughed. To the point that they looked at me like, "What is wrong with this girl?" They had stopped and they were kind of waiting to see what I would do, what my reaction would be. Was I going to flip him off? Was I going to run after him? Was I going to cry? I don't know what they were looking for, what they were looking to get out of it. But let me tell you, laughter wasn't it. They kind of looked at each other like, "What the, this girl, okay." And they got a little uncomfortable and shuffled off real quickly. And I just continued to laugh like he just told me the funniest joke I had ever heard. Wasn't shortly after that my dad started walking up, and my laughter was kind of trailing off, and he just walked up to me and said, "What's so funny?" And I realized in that moment that I had a decision. Was I going to tell my dad that 3 mean, stupid boys essentially called me fat while I was waiting for him to get back? Or was I going to just let it go and enjoy this night with my father? Although there was a part of me that definitely wanted to go all Miss Piggy on their asses and send my 6'4" father after them, I went with let it go. I just told my dad, nothing. Someone just did something kind of funny when they walked by. Let's go in. And he never had to know about it. Sorry, guys. For me, that was when I realized I was on my team. I laughed because it was comical to think that they thought they could hurt me with something so stupid, so frivolous, so meaningless as to oink at a girl waiting on the corner for her dad to go watch her brother. I laughed because that couldn't touch me anymore. I had built up enough strength and love for myself that just bounced right off. It was in that moment that I was so glad I decided to take that journey. It was in that moment that I realized that seed, that beautiful quote that my mother had planted, that told me that no one was allowed to hurt me if I didn't allow it to happen, was flourishing. So what I do, I went in with my dad and we danced the night away, and I saw my brother and my cousins and my aunts, and we had drinks, and not once did I break down and cry, and which it would have been really easy to do. It would have been really easy to let those strangers ruin my night and throw myself a pity party. Poor me. This is still happening to me all these years later. I'm doing better and I'm not starving myself. And now people are calling me fat, and it hurts. Wah, wah, wah. That is some stupid young boy whose mother would probably kick his ass if I told her what he did. That was his way of entertainment. A really poor choice, by the way. But it was something that I hope he'll never forget, that he doesn't get to take everyone down with something so stupid, that maybe the next girl he thinks about doing that to, he doesn't, because she might laugh at him too. And I hope she does. Or maybe he will continue to be that person and it had no impact on him. But it had the greatest impact on me, and it wasn't what he was intending. He was intending to break me down, and all it did was help me break through that final wall where I was asking myself, is this working? Is all of this effort worth it? Do I really love myself? And the answer is yes. For me, that moment was the answer that I needed. I have my own back. I'm on my own team. I am in a relationship with myself. I love myself. Just like I would defend anyone that I loved in that situation, I defended me. I had become a self-lover.